So there you are, in front of your computer, about to embark on your internet experience. You are going to find all kinds of sources on higher education and you're going to share them with lots and lots of people. But where do you go? Where do you find your sources for higher education? Do you have certain places you go to, your go-to spots for information about higher ed? Or are you a little confused about where you're supposed to go to find those sources? Well, if you have a place in mind or if you don't, that's what this module is for, to help you get a sense of where you can go to find information about higher education and information that you can trust and information that you can see as reliable. Because let's face it, although the internet can be very, very magical, it can also be quite misleading. So one of the sources I want to tell you about is the Chronicle of Higher Education. Although it's not a journal source, it is a very, very reliable and trusted source for higher education news. One of the other sources you can go to is Inside Higher Ed, and these are both web sources. So as you're embarking on your internet experience, you can just type that in and go straight to those sources. Inside Higher Ed, like the Chronicle of Higher Education, is also a very trusted outlet for higher education information. You also have a couple of other sources at your disposal. If you have a connection with a university library, then it's likely that that library has a subscription to several different journals. Some of those journals are going to be peer-reviewed, and what that means is that people in that particular field have looked over this information. It has been reviewed by the people in the field, and they've given their stamp of approval for this information. So that connection to the library then connects you to that journal, and then you're able to go to that journal and find all kinds of higher education sources. There are also some non-peer-reviewed sources as well. I mentioned two of them already, the Chronicle of Higher Education and Inside Higher Ed. But you may want to think about the Department of Education. So if you go to www.ed.gov, you can find all kinds of statistics about higher education and lots of information about higher education in general. So the Department of Education website is a federal resource. If you want information on higher education from a state perspective, then you may want to visit the National Conferences for State Legislatures. Their website provides information from the perspective of the states. You can also find information in your local newspaper in the education section, for example, or if there's a news outlet that you trust for general information about news, it's likely that that resource will also have a section for education, and you can find lots of higher education information there as well. You may also be familiar with the U.S. News and World Report, and while they provide information on rankings, they also provide other general information about higher education. So now that you know a little bit more about the sources for higher education information, why don't you find a few of these sources and share them on the discussion board?